Hey, what's up guys? I am Jerome and welcome to today's video. Now, if this is your first time coming across this channel and you like bonsai, you are in luck because that's what this channel is all about. Now, if you're subscribed already, welcome back and thank you so much for your support. Alright, so I'm super excited for today's video because we are going to make a Tanuki, or as it is referred in the West, a phoenix graft. So basically the gist of today's technique is taking a piece of deadwood and a live tree, and we're going to marry them together and hopefully create a beautiful bonsai down the road. So now I know that most of you probably recognize this tree right away and you wonder what happened. So let me rip off the band-aid, the oh so painful band-aid. So this is what happened. I moved to a new house and there was an accident while we were moving and this tree fell on the floor. Pot broke and I repotted it immediately, tried to save it. The impact hurt the tree so much that it started dying off immediately and I lost everything. Now this of course is very, very painful and I really hate to show this tree like this here on this channel. But you know what, it happened, and so now we have to do something with this tree because I love the deadwood features. So either I could just keep it like that and turn it into a piece of furniture maybe, or I thought, man, I just had such a great vision of this tree when I first acquired it with the new canopy coming down like that. And I was like, I just don't want to let this opportunity waste away. So let me make a Tanuki. So a Tanuki or a phoenix graft is not as respected in Japan itself. They don't really look at it as acceptable bonsai. However, in the West, in the United States, we look at it as somewhat acceptable. Now, it's all up to the individual if you accept it and say, hey, this could be a bonsai, or you say, this is too much of cheatery going on here, I do not accept this as a bonsai. I'm very open-minded when it comes to stuff like this, and I think it's just very cool practice either way, and we're going to create something beautiful. All right, so no matter what your stance is on a Tanuki, either way we're going to create something super cool today. So here are some of the things that you will need to create a Tanuki. First off, you are going to need a piece of deadwood or driftwood. Then you're going to need some sort of a whip. I chose a Shimpaku juniper whip, which we use to attach to the piece of deadwood. Then you're going to need a pot that we're going to pot this whole composition into. Of course, you need to use some good bonsai soil. I'm going to use our all-purpose bonsai soil mixture. And then you're going to need some screen, some wire, and then you're going to need two more tools. So you're going to need a Dremel, because we're going to carve out the life vein to attach a new tree into. And then I recently just upgraded to a nail gun. So this nail gun is super cool because it shoots out staples and nails at the same time. I chose the nail gun that has the smallest nails possible. So I can use this for root grafting or any type of grafting like the phoenix graft that we're going to do here today. Shoot right through the whip into the deadwood, makes it quick and easy, and those two will marry together much faster than. I always feel like if you use a nail and a hammer and you hammer it in there, that you could potentially disturb the roots and set the tree back a little bit. So the nail gun makes it very easy, one shot through the trunk into the tree and move on, and you're not disturbing any of the roots. Now here are little side notes. When you choose a piece of deadwood, make sure that you choose something that's very hard, doesn't have any soft spots. So obviously conifers are favorable. I'm using a California juniper here today. And the whip that you choose, you also want to choose something that's hardy. And what I chose with this whip that is very important, I chose a whip that has similar movement of the deadwood. So this used to be the life vein, right? And so I really, really love that. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this back life vein and attach the tree right along here, bring it all the way up. So I'm going to have to carve this out. And if this whip already has similar movement, it's just going to make my whole job a lot easier. Also, I know it is off-potting season, but we're not actually repotting this whip. I'm just going to take it out of its pot and put it into the new container, which is a lot larger. And this essentially is just a slit potting. And shooting, through the trunk might seem a little brutal, or can seem that way, but it's really harmless to the tree. And it doesn't matter what time of the year I do that. So without further ado, let's dive right into it and let's get started. And so the first step today is going to be to find the lifeline that I want to carve it out, and also use this whip simultaneously to kind of trial fit it into here, because when this whole piece is attached, I want it to look exactly like this. Like, you shouldn't be able to tell that this was manually attached. Maybe you'll see a little bit of a difference at first, but over the years they should fuse together really well. So I'm going to have to remove some of the branches down here so that I can attach the whip better to this dead wood. And so I'm going to do this little by little, carve it, attach it, see how it goes. And once I feel like this is at the right depth, that's when I'm going to go ahead and use the nail gun, shoot through the trunk into the tree and attach it. So now let's get started. I can't wait. Alright, so first order of business, we have to put on our safety glasses and get familiar with our material. Next up, I'm going to use the Dremel, and I start carving out, and these are the Dremel bits that I use for this job. And as you can see, I'm starting at the bottom because that will be the first piece that I will attach to. Always start from the bottom and work your way up. So once I have the first piece of the groove carved out, I remove some of the back branches of the whip so that I can attach the whip flush to the piece of dead wood. And as you can see here, I'm trial fitting this constantly. I'm carving a little bit, I'm attaching the whip, I'm carving, I'm attaching the whip, and that way I get to attach it the best way possible, because once it is attached, you can no longer remove the whip from the piece of dead wood. Now I obviously also change the carving bits depending on how high up I go to the trunk. I start out with a more aggressive one towards the bottom and then use a finer tool as I go towards the top. And now as you can see, the groove there is perfectly carved out for my whip to fit snug in there. And then I'm going to use my nail gun, shoot right through the trunk with the nails into the dead wood, and those two pieces will now be attached to each other firmly, and that will be able to fuse together over the course of time. So next up, I'm going to start to set up my pot now. I use a drainage screen, put it in the bottom of the pot so that the soil doesn't fall out. And then of course I have to set up the pot with tie-down wires. I'm using a 3.5 millimeter wire here, and of course I use two so that I can crisscross the wires over the root ball to make sure that I can firmly tie the entire composition down into the pot. Now first of all, of course, we have to add in a base layer of soil, which is also known as a drainage layer, and then add the composition in there. And so obviously I want to make sure that I get it just at the right height. So I add a little bit of soil, I'll try to fit the composition, add some more soil if needed. And so then once I have figured out the right angle of the composition, I go ahead and tie down the root ball into the pot. And so I use this crisscrossing method here. You can see I use a wire from the front and a wire from the back, cross it over the root ball, and tie it down into the pot firmly. And that way I get the strongest hold possible. Now here's a close-up of how I tie down the tree. I pull up on the wires and then I twist it down. You want to make sure that you pull up and not just twist it, because otherwise the wires will overlap and break off. And then I use a scoop of our all-purpose bonsai soil mixture, add it into the pot, and then use a chopstick to work out all of the air pockets. Add another scoop, work out the air pockets. This again, you do at a very slow pace. You want to make sure that you work out all of the air pockets. Take your time when you fill in the soil. Alright, so this is the end result of today's Tanuki. So I think you can see by now where I'm going with this. So I'm going to leave as much greenery on the whip right now as possible, because I want the whip to recover as fast as possible, but I also want all of these branches to grow out and thicken up that line, because as that line thickens, it builds compression with the deadwood and they will start to fuse together much faster. Now also at the beginning I said that probably I won't have to disturb the root ball. I was a little off by that. I did have to rake it out a little bit, which just means that in the winter I will take extra good care of this piece. Now I'm going to take this, move it right out into full sun, give it a good soaking, and the tree is good to go. In about a month or so from today I'm going to start to fertilize. And then probably next year around this time, I will probably be able to give this tree its very first basic styling, I would say. We'll see how it goes, but that's probably what's going to happen. And if not, 1 to 2 years, and then I will do its very first styling. But as you can see, I think it came out great, and we just resurrected an old dead tree. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed today's video on how to create a Tanuki. If you guys have any more questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section. Make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. And if you happen to like this content, make sure that you give us a big thumbs up, and I will catch you guys next time.